Hello, this is Queen Lady Honey. I'm doing something different. I'm going live to record my podcast, Here to Grow with Honey. So welcome back to my podcast, Here to Grow with Honey. I am your host, Honey, and together we can stay up, stay blessed, and stay encouraged. You know, this is an exciting time. I want to thank all of my guests who tune in week after week. I thank you for the listening ear. And so I'm here as promised. If you follow me on my podcast platform, I promise you that I would try something different. And this is a new era of obedience. So God asks something of me and I move. And no matter what I have going on, I want to make it popular to move at the sound of God, move at the speed of God, to be in the rhythm of God. I think that we've gotten comfortable with the associations of God and not really honoring God as Lord and King. And so I just want to get back to seeing God in his lordship and his kingship, because delayed obedience is still disobedience. And I care about how I present myself. So if you're a first timer, this is your first time knowing about Queen Lady Honey having a podcast called Here to Grow with Honey, allow me to introduce myself. I am a daughter of the Most High God. I am a daughter who was seen in the valley, seen in darkness, seen in rebellion, seen in a stronghold that looked like witchcraft. Because when you go through a cycle of rebellion, you're choosing a lifestyle that is against the lifestyle that God has created you to live. And so I had a choice to be decided on God. And I chose a God that I knew so little about, and I chose to study God. And now I get the opportunity to mirror God to you. And in me doing so, I asked to face fear in different ways, in different forms. Well, it's not really fear, because when you really know God, you really know that God loves his sons and daughters. And so because I'm loved well behind scenes, I don't really see love on display. If that's in marriages, I'm a part of this small group called A Deeper Dive with my church family. And I get to see a man of God lead his wife in a biblical way. And I get to see this woman honor her husband. But that's been a long time coming before I've seen that, where a man is comfortable in who he is, in his manhood. And this woman standing beautiful as a queen. You know, I don't see a lot of that in the kingdom. When I see marriages in church, the women are insecure. They're not confident. But this couple that I'm connected with, they may not have it all together. I don't think anyone has it all together. But if I were interested in marriage and that was something I had to see and they were modeling it for me, I could see that that's something that I would pray for. So on this platform, Here to Grow with Honey, what I am doing is I'm putting my life on a stage so that you could see, hey, if I were interested in God, could I look at Honey's life and say, that's a life that I would want for myself? And I'm grateful that God put me around a married couple, because beforehand, I don't even know if I really see marriage for myself, because I haven't seen people be happily married. And the way I measure a woman's happiness is based on how she looks at her man. And is this woman confident? Does this woman have self-esteem? Does this woman have self-awareness? That says a lot about a man. It says a lot about a man, the woman that he chooses. So, you know, I sit with God. I'm like, okay, I could see the idea of marriage being something that you will want from me. But I would need a man of God who's firm and in a foundation of you that I draw closer to you, that I become more alive, more whole with this man. He has to take me to a deeper place in God that I never thought that I could arrive to. Right? That's how I would know that man is for me. Right? There will be a deepening in my spirit, a deeper hunger, a deeper thirst to become more of myself. Because not only am I serving myself, I'm serving him. And like when I come alive, he comes alive. And it's just this reciprocal giving. So that's important. So if you're on the other side of this, I'm showing you what it really looks like to be a child of God. To be a child of God is meaning like God is doing something in your life that you really didn't agree to originally. You got on board because God chose you. And so this Here to Grow with Hunny came about because God chose me to be a communicator. And so I'm using my communication to turn you on to God because your spirit is quiet. And perhaps you're operating in your body, and you're operating in your emotions, and you don't even know that your spirit is dead. And the only way that you'll notice that your spirit is dead is that when you hear a child of God, a son of God, a daughter of the King speak to you, then your spirit will quicken because it's like, okay, what's that sound? Maybe you haven't heard the sound of God. So that's why I'm here tonight. And tonight we're going to be talking about becoming. The reason we're going to talk about becoming is because I have a hard time when I'm sitting with God and I'm asking God, where are your children becoming? You know, not where are your children comfortable, but where are they becoming as you've asked me to become? And I really don't see people fueled by faith. I don't see people, you know, standing in a now faith. I see people huddled together doing the expected things, but I don't see people coming outside of the box that they perhaps put themselves in to showcase God in a different way. And so with that, I'm having to become a trailblazer, and I am asked to be this woman without having a woman to show me how to be a woman. So I don't have a mother around, an older sibling around, an auntie around, or this first lady around, or these people around to show me how to be this Queen Lady Hunny. I just live in proximity to the King. And I'm chastised, I'm corrected, I'm trained up to how to be this, because no one can show me how to be something that they have never dared to be. And that's to be close to God. So if you are a person and you're wanting to become, what it's going to cost you is to come out of that place of wanting to be liked and accepted. Because true light is not accepted, it's rejected. Right? When you are the salt of the earth, when you are the light, right? I don't understand how people have these cliques, because you're not iron. If Paul came back and visited a church today, he would be disappointed. A lot of these disciples that lost their lives, they would be disappointed. They would be disappointed of all the suffering that they had to go through, to only see us get back to a place of having little faith in God. And so as I sit here and I see that what it cost me to become, it cost me to separate from wickedness. It cost me to call out a family that was serving a different master. But in church, they said that they were Christians, but their hearts were far from God. So becoming it looks like God revealing to you how far you are from him. And when God reveals to you how far you are from him, you have to cut ties with the people that are keeping you away from God. And when you do that, you're going to stand alone. And so when you're becoming, it's a lonely process. But you're not alone in the process. And, you know, I was thinking about, you know, my becoming. And I thought about me having to walk alone. And I was like, God, if you love me, why do you have me walking alone? Why don't I have all the things that people have? Why don't I have these families? But you don't really have what you think you have if people are not calling you up and calling you higher. I know a lot of people that are around people that say they love them, but they're the same way they used to be 10 years ago. That's not love. That's compromise. You've conformed to be accepted by these group of people. And on my path of becoming, I had to walk with God so he can retrain my mind to not think like my grandmother, to not think like my father, to not think like my mother, because it's unacceptable to walk away from your children. It's unacceptable. It doesn't matter what excuse that you have in your mind. It's unacceptable to walk away from responsibility. Right? It's unacceptable to not take ownership and have accountability. So in my becoming, God had to show me what kind of parent he wanted me to be. Right? God had to show me what kind of daughter he wanted me to be. God had to show me what kind of woman he wanted me to be. God had to show me what kind of disciple he asked of me to be. Right? And God asked me to become his kind of kingdom entrepreneur. So in that becoming, it's been a process of being separated from my peers, being separated from the people in my workplace, being separated from the people in the church. And I can relate to parts of David's story because all David was doing in the field is what he was expected to do. David never expected to be loved. David never expected to be valued because he spent most of his life not being valued, not being seen, not being heard. But God came to remind him that he never lost sight of David. And even though David was obedient, the king at the time, Saul, he still wanted to kill David. And David was attacked for doing the expected thing. You know, the things that you see me on my social media doing, this is the expected thing to proclaim the good news. It's expected for us as Christ followers or believers in God to be uncomfortable. It never said that Paul was running with a crowd of people, right? When David was in that hole hiding from Saul, it was just David by himself. And then when God would use David and pull him out and then have him be a warrior and a fighter. But guess what? Even though he did all of those magnificent things, when it was time for David to deal with that adversity, that personal adversity, no one was there, but he had someone by the name of Jonathan. And in 1 Samuel 20, David asked in that first verse, he said, "What have I done? What is my crime? How have I wronged your father that he is trying to kill me?" I'm in a position where I've become the woman of God that God desired, that the people around would try to kill the woman that God desires for today, because I am a mirror of who they should have been with all the time that they had to be or to become with God. And so they wasted time because they put people, environments above the ask that God has asked them to do years ago. And then here I am, the last person that's now first. Because now the first, we're witnessing the first being last. Because before I came in the picture, I was in the world. But God couldn't find nobody. He searched all over and couldn't find nobody. But then he raised up Hunny. And I had to go through my becoming season, my beautification season, my sanctification, going from, you know, that deliverance to that healing to freedom. And now I can stand in wholeness, but that's still a continual process. But before it was me, 7 years ago, God told someone else to write the book. God told someone else to start the podcast. God told someone else to proclaim the good news. And I was supposed to be just like you on the other end, receiving. But when I was on the other end, I was in darkness. I wasn't met with someone that was real. I had people in the church trying to minister to me with no light. So this becoming it's going to cost you the version of you that you're pretending to be. And the only reason you're being that version of yourself is because no one's calling you out on it. And this is why I have low views, you know, few likes. It's because I'm not telling you something that's going to tickle your ear. I'm telling you the truth. The truth is, for you to become, you got to let go of all those excuses. You are your decisions. You chose to disobey God when he asked you to do that thing. When God asked you to surrender. When God told you that you was running out of time and you didn't want to turn back, and you didn't want to let go of this thing because you let go of whatever that stronghold was because you thought, oh, that's my God, you know, we cool like that. No, y'all not. You're not cool like that when a man of God is being attacked for being a good guy. We like to give David a hard time because he slept with this man's wife. But we always jump to the small things that people do. What about all the things David did right? Do you know what it really means to be chosen by God? When you're truly becoming the person that God has called you to be. There's no one putting your names in rooms. People are terrified of you. There is no support system for the real chosen ones. You got to come, let me tell you, you got to come out of church. And God is going to create a new tribe. Paul had to speak to the Gentiles. The Jews wasn't ready. They rejected him. Why? Because when people put on a mask of Christian, grow, discomfort, faith, believe. How dare you to ask me to believe? How dare you ask me to be salt? How dare you ask me to be light? How dare you to ask me to witness at my job? They are offended by you asking them to come out of their comforts. They are offended for you to call out their sin. So people don't choose to become because you can pretend like you've become someone just by tagging Christian and saying, oh, I'm doing this good deed. But if you are a dead person, meaning you spend no time with God, you're still struggling with the same things. You can't hear from the good shepherd, right? You have no relationship with the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit can't even call you to a fast. You have no justice in your heart, no peace. And because you do a good thing and you have a title, you think that something is changing. Nothing changes until something changes. That's why we don't have the impact that we deserve to have, that God deserves to have. It's because a lot of people haven't gone to a place of becoming. And I really love studying the Bible because I really like the heart of Jonathan, the heart of Mordecai. Because I'm a person that's been in this walk 7 years. And I told you that was like one church in Leeds, Alabama that really understood what it means. And I see places online where people are lit. But we can't wait for those men of God. Like all of us can't flock to those churches. All of us can't flock to that one particular leader. We're going to have that Holy Ghost fire shut up in our bones. And so if you're listening to any of my content, my podcasts, my lives, anything that I post, I'm not a leader that's open to you compromising on God, period. Because the last time I checked, God is the only person that's good all the time. So as I'm speaking of becoming, I'm becoming a person my eyes have not seen. And in this becoming, you know, I'm having this podcast to allow you to see me go through the process. But I'm going to tell you, if you're going to places and heights that Queen Lady's Hunny is going, from faith to glory to glory, I want you to know that you're going to have to go there unsupported. You're going to have to go there unloved. Right? And when you truly become the person that the pastors are asking you to become, I want you to know that you're really going to see the church for what it is. That if you're not a butt kisser, the same thing you see in the world is what you'll see behind walls. That's why you have to go and allow God to become in God. And when you become in God, you're not sitting there hungering and thirsting after a title or a position. You're allowing God to equip you so you could be in position wherever you are. The church is wherever I am. I am a walking Bible. So if you are getting baptized or dipped in water so that you can have an association and your name can be such and such at this particular church, who cares if you such and such in church and your church is dead? And there is no light. If there is no healing in the church, who cares what title you have if no demon is not afraid of you? So on this Here to Grow with Hunny platform, we're not playing about our relationship with God. I'm in love with my Father. And I don't even know if I'm in love with him. I'm attempting to be in love. I'm attempting to receive his love. Because the way that God loved David, when everyone else just talks about him committing adultery, he never had his way. David didn't get what he wanted. He was always doing what was required of him. And the one time he wanted something, we all as men and women, we hold that against David. But see, David, we point out the fact that he committed adultery. But we never talk about him being after God's own heart. Some of us ain't even after God's own heart. We don't even have that level of commitment. People can't come to you and say, hey, warrior for Christ. Hey, if I need some, I know I can call on this king. This man on God is on fire. See, a whole lot of nobodies would love to talk about some people's misfortunes. See, David was fortunate enough to be trusted by God. When Samuel told Saul, you know, don't even worry about it, man. God's going to raise up his another king. He was talking about David. God was able to forget that adultery because he knew that this young man, I got him fresh off the field. He's a warrior. He's a fighter. And the one time he made a body decision. But how many times did David make a spiritual decision? Some of y'all can't even make a spiritual decision about being decided about God. We read this Bible, but we not, when are we going to step in a commitment? These people were committed to God. You're talking about Jesus being in your Lord and Savior. I can't tell. I can't tell. Y'all not becoming. You becoming stale. You old manna. So in my becoming, I'm on here and I'm like the coolest, calm, relaxed person. So it tickles me that God has an introverted person, an intuitive person, a thinking person, a perceiving person to be the person that he puts before y'all, because nothing is hidden. Man, let me tell you something. You think David committing adultery is bad? Think about being around people in the church who can't see demonic spirits in them. And they have titles. That's bad. So for years, I was able to see people be crooked. And so when God came to get me, and he was like, oh, you know, I want us to partner together. And I'm like, I definitely don't want to be around the fake. The snakes are in the church. Because all the enemy looks to do is to get you comfortable. Right? And so I'm like King David. And what I mean is, like, in my becoming, I had to go years where people be in my face like, oh, I like you, honey, and all this. But truly behind my back, they want me killed. They're jealous. They're envious. I've had people come close to me to destroy my family, attempt to destroy my family, came after my child. So, I see demonic spirits in all kind of ways. But if you truly are ready to become, if you truly believe that God has something for you, I want you to know that it's going to cost you everything. You're going to have to move around those opinions. You're going to have to move around the hate, the dishonor. Because really, truly, these are nobodies hating on you. They're not even willing to become. So listen, on Thursday, my birthday, March the 19th, I have a birthday, Queen Lady Hunny. And on this day, God is asking me to share that special day, my born day, with you. Because when God created me, he knew this day would come. He knew that I would become this woman of God. And so, celebrating that becoming, he's asked me to host an event. Now, the event on my birthday is me honoring God and celebrating God for how good he's been to me. He's been better than good to me. But you get to come and have access with Queen Lady Hunny, which you would never get access to Queen Lady Hunny, because I told you that when you truly become, people are afraid of you. People run from you. People will give all opportunities to anyone but you. Why? Because the fear of you exposing them, the fear of you outperforming them. You know, how you know you haven't become who you know God has created you to be is when you have jealousy and envy in your heart of someone else. You know, I can be around the most powerful people, And I will allow that person to sharpen me because I don't choose who God gives power to. But on Thursday, God is giving you access to come in a room with me. Now, I was telling a young man, a man that I work with, that on my job, that, you know, I'm an exclusive type of woman. I'm like for the 1%ers of the world. I know that a lot of people can't like me, nor do I want them to. Just seeing the character, the lack thereof in the world, in the church, around me. So I wait for God to send me a Mordecai or a Jonathan. If you are able to make it out on Thursday, you should. Because if you don't, you're going to be lost in that church, left in that pew, being the same you. You're going to try all that the world can offer you, and you're going to taste to see, man, nothing compares to God. And your time is ticking away. You done went to that altar and you got prayed, is ineffective. Because guess what? Until people get that stuff out of their heart that God has asked them to remove, healing ain't happening. Restoration ain't happening. God will handle their prayers. He'll hold up their prayers. Why? Because God is not playing with the church. He's not playing with the people that say that they got their name in Christ Jesus. So if you're a person that you know that you need a mighty move of God, I suggest you come in a room and get free. And be free. You know, my enemies even know I'm free. The people that hate on me know I'm free. Because it's a price you pay for this freedom. Right? And when you get closer to God and you will understand why certain people, chosen ones, walk by themselves. Because chosen ones are not with that fake energy. Right? So what I'm promoting on March 19th is for a healthy relationship with the King, where you respect and honor God. And you don't want to miss out because God trusts me with you. You think I asked God to walk alone? You think God told me what would happen when I became this type of person? No, he didn't tell me. He didn't tell me that a lot of people in the church are pretending and they're masked up. I assumed it only happened in the church that I grew up in. Right? So if you have time on Thursday, I stand corrected. Come out from 4 to 6. Now, I know you probably think that, honey, why aren't you advertising this more? Again, I'm for the 1%ers. I'm for the people with character. You tell me the last good person you met. You tell me the last person that made you feel safe. You tell me the last person you trust. You tell me the last person that could see through your hurt and your pain and called you out on it. You don't know love. A lot of y'all don't even know what love is. So I'm allowing you to stand in a love that strengthens. And if you are able to make it out, I am an author of 2 books. My first book is called Becoming Hunny. I may be able to part maybe 3 or 4 books, but this is This is this costs a lot to get this. So this is my story. And some of you might read it and you might hear all the things that Hunny did wrong, like you doing when you read that Bible. And saying, oh, these people did this. These people stood for God. We're not standing. I want you to know that I had to stand for God to create this book. So don't take out the mess and miss the message. So let's see what God says. Maybe 3 or 4 of those I'm gonna sell this one. Just giving this one away is wild. This Rooted book, this is my second book, Rooted. Now, when God asked me to write this book, Rooted, I had invested in myself to partake into some of like these women groups and these retreats and different things like that. And God has always kept me around as leaders and showed me, don't become that. Don't do that. Look, I'm going to advance this person. I'm going to promote this person in front of you. And I want you to see that character. I'm going to give this person a little bit more money, and I want you to see that character, honey. And it would grieve my spirit. And God was like, all right, you're ready. And so now we're at a place where we're getting back to where I was in 2022, doing events and things like that, because God had to test my heart. I had to deal with law enforcement hating on me. An officer wanting to handle me inappropriately. This Caucasian woman couldn't believe that I had self-esteem, that I believed in me. She was just used to a broken version. But I had to introduce her to a woman that know thyself. I had to deal with adversity in my finances. And I still had to tithe and give and do things behind the scene. I had to still support others as they were becoming while I was waiting on my season to become. And so in that time of all that adversity, God was like, write that book, Rooted. Now, I've written other things, but it's not time to release them. So, how God spoke it to me, the event on Thursday, my birthday, I'm allowing you to come in a space in a room with me. If you've been battling with forgiveness, and you have a lot of unforgiveness in your heart, and you've been abused, and someone took advantage of you, and you can't get your way back to a sound mind, I need you to show up at that event or you're going to miss your opportunity. Okay? I'm going to give you access to this copy of the book. Now, I want you to know that when I wrote these books, I had not written since I was in high school. I graduated with over a 4.0 accumulative. And God has always showed me of who he wanted me to be, which was myself, a communicator. I never thought I would be an author, but I always read books. So it's crazy that God had me to write the books before I finished the degree. But that's how the kingdom works. When you're becoming, God don't care what your credentials say. He's going to use you because he wants to use you. So if you know that there is more inside of you and those around you are discrediting you, get in a room with someone who's someone in God. They can speak life over you. Because perhaps you might be like Queen Lady Hunny. People are not going to speak life over you. People are praying for your downfall. Because if they get rid of you, then people will glorify them. And if people glorify them, they can remain compromised. But come in the room. I'll read some of my books. I'll do some poetry. But I want you to know that this moment in time was put before us before I even existed. Before I was even thought of. And so, back to my point at the top of this, if you're not uncomfortable in your walk and you're not facing discomforts, are you truly believing in God like you say you are? Because this Bible never said that people stayed in their homes. They had to get out and get uncomfortable. This man was hated for God's favor being on his life. So I'm showing up on Thursday because I don't care nothing about my kids wanting to go into the medical field. I mean, that's exciting. But if they're not becoming in God, it was all for nothing. And that's what I want you to know. You know, I say a lot about God and things like that. And there's things that I want to do. But those things happen after I do what God asked me to do. So I'm coming not to be seen. I'm coming to worship the King before you. I'm coming to model it. Because if you go into church today, it ain't about God. They could say it. They could put God's name up and all of that. All right. If it's about God, where's the encounters with God? Where's the encounters with God? If you go into a church wanting to have an encounter with God and you leave without God, what does that tell you? People can't give you a God they don't know. Because God will give men of God or women of God in positions. He could give them a spirit that torments him. That's what he did with King Saul. And then he sent David, soon to be the king, to soothe him. So don't think that just because you see people in church that they all got it together. God, they can have a tormenting spirit approved by God. So in this becoming, I want you to, just hear from a person that's not trying to take advantage of God, that don't think that I'm above the fact that I have to face fear. I have to do all the uncomfortable things too, but I get to do it, and I get to represent it, doing it before my kids, before they go off to college. Because I don't care what no one is not doing in the church, outside of the church, around the corner. My kids got to see someone be decided. So if they ever try to come back to me with an excuse or whatever, it's time to lock in, right? So I'm God's very own Queen Lady Hunny. I'm doing something new, following God's lead. With this podcast going live, and just letting you guys know that every time you see me, I'm facing fear. I'm an introverted woman. I'm an intuitive woman. I see demonic spirits all the time. I see hate for me all the time. I see jealousy of me all the time. I see envy all the time. And I ignore it because you can't acknowledge fake people. The people that will pretend to themselves that they're happy and they're living a life that they're not. So why would I have an argument with demons? It makes no sense. So if God is asking you to become, then perhaps when you read about David, you'll put some respect on his name. Because guess what? When you become, you're going to have a testimony too. And as you tell your testimony, people are going to grab a hold of that mess. And they're going to forget about the message. And the message is God trusts you with this message. And only the people that's going the other way is holding your mess. Keep walking. Keep becoming. Because God has greater for you. When people can talk all they want, but God has greater for you. Let them talk all they want. God has greater for you. Let them talk all they want. Look, the podcast, God got greater for you. And as they're talking, as they're hating, you'll be on the stage, right? Reaping your reward. But guess what? It's lonely at the top. It's lonely when you're ranked in the kingdom. The world gives you access to fake people. The kingdom gives you access to isolation. So that you can become in the shadows. You'll be hidden for seasons. And then when God tells you it's your time, you have to be ready. And that's why you don't pay attention to the things to your right or left. Because you could be next, friend, of God saying, step into discomfort. And I want you to be ready. So I'm asking you to come on Thursday. So I can explain what a new invitation I want to extend to those exclusively in that room. And in closing, I do like to freestyle. Because I'm not live in a studio, I'm going to play an instrumental. So hold on one second. It's wild that I'm on here doing this because I have 2 teenage kids and, you know, they get to see me come alive. Shucks. And this is an unpopular thing to be a child of God when your kids are in high school, but hold on, let me see. Let me go. Continue. Hold on, let me. And I got distracted by the ad. When you truly become the one that you wanted to be, you know that you want a one. But I still find my way celebrating God's son. Oh, he saw so much fake, and now I can relate that people don't really love a king. But now I'm established as his queen, and I see that people are fiending for the world, and I'm just wanting to be a firm foundation, and people are turning the station on what's real, and I'm trying to stay right here. Listen, I never want to switch sides. I don't care what all the chatter about. Those people are out of their minds, and I know what it feels like to have a happy home, and I stand in freedom. God would say, just leave them alone, huh? I got you a tribe. Don't worry about the people that try to hide their glory on you. But when you really walking with God, you're going to see so many snakes. That's why you never idolize the fakes. And the people that's real, they try to tell you that they phonies. But I want you to know that when you really real, people don't know how to check you. All they can do is go behind the walls and put a curse and hope that you fall. But That ignorance is what put the power in my back and asked God to make that mercy and goodness follow me. Because even though you hate me, you still follow me. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? You follow me. Because I am a blueprint. I'm a staple in the community. Because I spend my days giving my life to God. And even though you say you love the faith, you love the taste of the real. I'm really her. Because I live in Him. I am heaven sent. I'm God's very own Queen Lady Hunny. Listen, it is well with my soul. And I'm always going to rock for God. And so because of that, and because I love God, you get to see glimpses of my life. But if I didn't love God, you wouldn't see me at all. Right? But I understand I can't love God and not do what He asked me to do. Then I wouldn't be me. I would be you. And, you know, I love it here. And I want to give honor to my father, who's almost kept me for 38 years. It's such a thrill to be his. And I'm grateful that I'm willing to share 2 hours of my birthday with you. So when you get there, have no expectations. Let's all show up and allow God to blow your mind. I want you to know that when I show up, I'm already blessed, even if you don't show up. See, the blessing is obedience. Obedience is better than sacrifice. So when I step in the room, the guaranteed 2 guests that will be there are my children. And when I show up, I train my kids to show up no matter the number that's in the room. Because if God is not enough, then who are we becoming for? So if God is asking you something, ask you to do something, you don't want to do it because I don't know if I'll be supported. Well, listen, I'm doing exactly what God has asked me to do, and I'm not supported. Can you do it unsupported? If not, you don't believe. You don't believe in God, or you don't believe in yourself. If it's God, myself, and my children in that room, I'm going to give it all to God. Right? Because I know that God loves me for real. Right? And I'm going to rest in His goodness, man. So thank y'all for tuning in on my first live of Here to Grow with Hunny. I am your host, Queen Lady Hunny. I am the Kingdom Ambassador that makes this lifestyle seem worthwhile again. And before we leave, I ask you to stay up, stay blessed, stay encouraged. Until next time.